You know, you guys, I don't actually believe any of you exist. I think this is all just a projection that my subconscious is creating because I'm actually in an insulin coma because I ate too many Malamars. But
Cashews.
since we're here anyways, I got injected with a syringe full of cashews, and now I'm having a seizure. This is Figment. It's from Bedtime Digital Games. It's built on the Unity engine. You can pick it up for around 20 of your local particular currency. What is it? Figment is an action-adventure game that invites you to explore a unique, surreal universe filled with music, humor, and a multi-layered narrative. Join Dusty and his ever-optimistic friend Pipper on an adventure through the different sides of the mind, seeking to restore the courage that's been lost. The devs did send us some keys through the Curator Connect. Thanks a lot for that, folks. And what is this? This is the ChairQAsition, where we take a game, we maybe play it for a little bit, talk about it, do a little quality assurance that the devs should have done before releasing it. And oh boy, that holds true today. Stay tuned for that. And then we give things a score based on chairs. 1 chair means that's garbage, 2 chairs means that's meh, 3 chairs means that's pretty good, 4 chairs means that's awesome. And we got our categories: Doom, mixed with working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun, which we apply these to. So let us kick this off. I'm going to start off mixed with the working because it's story time with Jordan, guys. Gather around, children's. So I go and I install this game, and it's a Unity title. So I figure I click play on Steam, and the game pops up. Right? Wrong.
Yeah.
2 stack traces later, or 2 stack traces, and about 30 minutes later. Yeah. Number one, they don't ship the game with a Steam app ID, which will suppress errors in stack traces. Number 2, once you create that, the game can't deal with in case-insensitive file systems. I have 2 folders in my home directory called games with an uppercase G, games with a lowercase g. The game itself was installed in lowercase g games, but according to the stack trace, it was trying to find the game data in uppercase G games because who the fuck knows why? So I had to move the capital G games folder, create a symlink, and that was the workaround to this. But this is stupid. No one should ever have to do this. This took me 30 minutes, and I had to pull out a code analysis tool in order to figure out what the hell was actually happening. In no way should this ever be required to make a fucking game work. But once you correct this, the game does run perfectly fine. So I can't give it 1 chair, but fuck you, man. 2 chairs. On Fedora 2664-bit,
Okay.
the i7-6700K, and the GTX 980.
That's the thing, man. Over here in Ubuntu land, 1710, running that 414 kernel, because 415 and 390 NVIDIA, that's a Wednesday show right there, man. I'm not going to blow it up. I didn't have any big issues. It did create the My Games folder, but, I mean, sort of like Road Redemption and stuff like that. Shouldn't have been fucking called My Games. That was confusing. There will never be anything else under that. Bad form. I'll say that. It's not the first Unity title to do it, but the Ryzen 7 1700, 16 gigajoules of RAM, 980 powered, UHD displayed, everything ran. Performant, it was, even at UHD 3840 by 2160, maintained a solid 60. You might see it dip like to 58 or something like that, but, it's not terrible.
I blame that on VSync.
Well, I don't know. You enable, disable, whatever. Didn't have any tearing issues. Yeah, I'll give it a clean bill of health, man. Solid 4.
Yeah. Well, like everybody else, that fucking My Games folder that it creates in your home directory, because fuck you and your non-English locale, didn't strike a particularly nice chord with me. And it's pretty ironic when you consider that the game does support other languages, specifically Portuguese. Even though it defaulted to Portuguese, when I got to the press a key or press start, it was in Italian. What? But yeah, no, so much for coherence. And if I refuse to keep Snap packages installed because of that stupid lowercase folder that Snap still create, what makes you think I'm going to keep Figment installed. Now, I will make the argument that if you are running SteamOS and you don't really look at your home folder directory all that much, that's not that big a deal. And I didn't have the issues with launching the game that Jordan did, so I'm going to give it 3 chairs on the Ryzen 5 1600 with the GTX 1080, which after disabling VSync and setting the FPS cap to 120, no more frame dips. That's how that works.
All right, well, that's 3 chairs for Makes with the Working. Shiny and Sounds is up next. What did you think, Ven?
Hey, man. Let's look at it like this. Not a whole lot to report. Okay. Let's just back that up a second. I'll report this because I don't like musicals unless I'm performing in them. And there's only one I do that for. This has got song and dance numbers, motherfuckers. Mm-hmm. And they're not bad, especially the first one you run into it. I'm like, what the hell? I didn't expect this from a little indie game. Fully performed, and it's like, all right, and got something that doesn't completely suck. Caught me off guard. I wasn't necessarily jamming to it, but I was like, okay, I can dig this. The environments, as you can see if you're watching the video version, hand-drawn. They look nice. They're colorful. They're a little fucking bizarre. I'm digging all this. Animation rigging between like your main character versus the little hoverbird that follows you around, and like the first nightmare baddie that you deal. Those motherfuckers look like they're out. What he does looks like he's a polygon mess from the original Unreal. I mean, the animation rigging is just downright bad. Yeah. I do gotta say, you never really feel like you're in the environment. It's kind of like more like you're moonwalking on top of it. The best way I can think to explain that to anyone is think of like playing a game where you're constantly just in a Mario overworld map. It kind of has that feel to it. Not that really tied into the world. But for shinies, it looks good. Minus a little bit of jank every now and then. And yeah, the sounds, man, you put a fucking musical in there that immediately didn't cause me to put on the Slater. So I'll give you a solid 3 on that, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I like how all the go on, Pedro.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Even the bad voice acting seems fitting with the setting. There's a little intro cutscene that I'm not going to spoil at the start of the game that gives you a little background as to what this is, what you're playing, but it's like how you interpret certain accents in people's voices, like the baddies and the people that are behind the closed doors when you knock on the door and they give you a little spiel. It fits. It's got the cartoony, slightly humorous look to it, and if you walk near one of the instrument plants that there are in the game, and it's just every now and then there's just that one specific one that you walk close to at just the right time, and it fits in really well with the music, and that triggers that bit of my brain that likes like melodies and stuff. That's really neat. But like Ven mentioned, the animation is a bit and there's absolutely no feedback to the combat outside of some flashing on screen. So yeah, it gets 3 chairs because it could have been so much better.
Yeah, the first thing I heard or I thought of when you run into the guy who steals your scrapbook, because this is a story about a man who needs a scrapbook. I noticed that he's a little Webzone-esque in his performance. Everything is miserable. I fed up with this world. You're tearing me apart, Lisa, etc., etc. Yeah, like Ben said, there are musical numbers. A lot of the like the boss fights or the boss interactions are typically like, wait, hold on a second. Did he rhyme? Was he rhyming to the beat of the background music? Is this a musical number? Okay.
Yep.
Good. It's well done. It's integrated into the game. And it's not like da 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 da. We're the boss, and we're gonna. It's well done. I like the art style as well. It kind of gives me a bit of a William S. Burroughs type vibe, something out of like Naked Lunch or something like that. A little less gritty and a little more pleasant. But I dig the surreal aesthetic. Yeah, all in all, very good art design, very good sound design. I didn't really notice too much the animation rigging issues. I think it's just a good looking and good sounding game, all things considered. I'll give it 3 cheers. And that gives it 3 cheers for the shiny and the sounds. Pedro, talk to us about controls.
You can't rebind the movement keys, but I think they have successfully found a workaround for that by binding all of the possible movement keys out of the box, or at least was the directional arrows, and if you have a numpad, 8, 4, 2, and 6 also move you around. So, hey, can't really complain about that. Also, one of the new toys, what I got, I mentioned in the main show, was this 8-bit Do NES 30 Pro controller. Works out of the box. Both in the default the input mode that it starts and in X input mode, because Steam just sees it as a Xbox 360 controller if you start it in X input mode. So good on them. And apparently Unity now supports D input controllers, so that was nice to learn. The Steam controller worked out of the box as well, and yeah, not letting people rebind the movement keys would ding it a chair, but as it stands, it seems to cover all its bases, so I can give it a 4.
All right. I think I'll take the next crack at this because, yeah, man, this is Lana spray and pray button layout that, you know, we haven't seen in Unity in a while. But it happens to just so work default on the Steam controller. Unfortunately, that does lead to a lot of the buttons do the same damn thing, so you can kind of make your own decisions on what controls what, and just think back like a year ago. What do you got? You got move, you got roll, you can boop things with your little sword. All that seems to work. Nothing really to get excited about. Movement is a bit clunky, and you basically are running around on invisible rails. There's not much in the way of exploration in this game, but I'll talk about that in the fun. The combat, when you run into it, it's a bit shite. There's no real good interaction with the bad guys when you smack them around. It feels like more of an afterthought. No impactful attacks. But for the controls, it's playable with the Steam controller, Areola controller, and this is definitely something you want to sit back, relax, and hide an adult while playing. I'll throw you a solid 3 game.
Yeah, I got a shiny new silvery DualShock 4. So, because it was on sale, they're down from $300 to $200.95.
$20.
But no, it's bad. They're really nice controllers, but holy shit, they are expensive. Yeah, so everything works out of the box. Like Ben said, you can either pick between the face and the shoulder buttons for how you want to interact with the game. So at least they give you some options. But yeah, the moving around, especially in combats, is really, really bad. And there are a couple of traps that enemies can get you caught in, especially if you're near an elevator and you accidentally roll into the elevator, and then they just kill you because you can't escape because they just attack you the second you hit the ground. Yeah, everything seems to be on like a pseudo grid that isn't quite apparent. You can imply it from like the isometric view, but it's just kind of weird. And yeah, the combat in this definitely does leave something to be desired. But you know, everything works out of the box. I didn't have to fuck around with any controller settings, so I guess I got to give it 3 chairs. So that's nice. 3 chairs for the controls, and let's move on to fun. Ven, did you have fun?
Seems legit. Around the 70-minute mark, the puzzles get a little too obtuse for old man Ven. Something kind of tells me that this game is going to get hella dark later on. That's why I had a little case of the sads, because I'm never going to find out, because the puzzles also have this added advantage of being hella repetitive. They just wear you down. It's like, this is nothing new. Oh, fetch quest type thing. Not saying there's fetch quests, but same repetitiveness of that. And that kind of makes me angry, you know, because I see a game like this. It's got all the right parts. It just needs more time in the oven. And because I haven't been said this in a while, but I mean, if this Figment was in early access with, say, in Q4 2019 release, I'd be excited because there's a lot of good shit buried in here and just tons of promise in need of some proper polish. Kind of like Onomatopoeia, Grapes of Huge Humanities, man. This is a hard one to recommend at, what is this one clocking in at?
$20.
Yeah, $20.
£15. Yeah.
It's got this great story that I think is going to take a really like fucked up twist, and I'd like to see it, but I'm never going to get there in the game in its current state. And apparently it's gotten a lot better since it was originally released September 22nd in 2017. So I think this is as good as it's going to get. And yeah, I can't give this a recommend, even though it did have a fantastic little musical number in it. So that's that.
Yeah, I didn't actually hate this game. I was kind of salty at it, going through all this crap to get it actually running. But there's a decent little game in here. It's got a cute surreal art direction and passable attempts at humor and hints at something a little more sinister, like Ben said. But really, the gameplay is where the game falls apart. I didn't really find the puzzles particularly obtuse. It's just a matter of, if you can pick it up, you have to, because you will always have to backtrack and go find something that you passed by so that you can activate the thing, so you can perform the 7 or 8 repetitive actions, and then lo and behold, you can get through the area. Everything was sufficiently telegraphed, at least as far as I played. I got past the first boss and I went to Clocktown, and at that point I kind of stopped caring. But it's not terrible. I don't really... The main thing where this falls apart is I'm stressed out in every single combat just because I'm afraid the controls are going to result in me dying. And yeah, I feel, yes, it's super linear, but I feel the game could benefit from a map, because after a while, everything starts to look the same. And I don't remember where the hell I've come from or where I've gone, especially when there's like 2 or 3 branching dead end paths. It's just like, and especially because there's quite a bit of backtracking in this game. It would help to be like, oh yeah, no, I need to go here. So blah, blah, blah. It's not that big a deal, but I found myself thinking, man, it would be nice if I could actually like have my destination in mind. Like the game is all right. It's just kind of a meh. I think, like Ven said, it's if this was an early access game a couple years ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, I can dig it. But as is, especially for $20, I can't really say that it's worth it. I'll give it 2 chairs because there's enjoyable stuff in there, but there's a lot of other crap you got to wade through to get to it.
It's by no means the worst puzzle game we've played. The puzzles are a little bit obtuse, yes. They're very onerous, if you want to use 10-pound words. Especially when you get into Clockwork Town. And, okay, it's not like the Talos Principle 9 hours in level obtuse, but it gets pretty bad. Still, I didn't find myself quitting the game out of frustration from knowing exactly what I need to do, but not being able to be asked to do it. This is the kind of game you would sort of give to a child. There's the whole, bit that happens at the start.
If this thing gets fucked up in the way I think it gets fucked up at the end, absolutely give this to children. It will scar them.
Yeah, there's the thing that happens at the start that sets like the dark tone implications right from the get-go. But as you're playing the game and you're going through everything is so cutesy, everything is so nice, you're probably going to put that to the back of your head and not think about it too much. In fact, it's those very same dark undertones and the topical humor, yes, during that musical number, what Ven mentioned earlier. I did caught the vaccine full of autism bit, and it's those teeny tiny little things in the dialogue and the story that push the story in Figment to the point where I actually started to care a little bit. You may remember my spiels about narrative, aesthetics, and mechanics, but this game seems to be a solid split between the 3. They're all good. Like, aesthetics are good, mechanics are good, narrative is good. They're good, but they're not great. And fuck that stupid monkey folder and its stupid monkey folder ass. I will give it 3 chairs, but that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and with that, it gets 2 chairs for the fun, and we tally all that stuff up, and we get Le Strider, 2 chairs for Figment. We got anything we want to say before we cut this off?
Hey man, don't call it a comeback, and most certainly don't call the ChairQAsition a review, because your goal is hopefully to do better than 2 chairs. 2 chairs mean D's get degrees. That's what you're dealing with, and that's what you're dealing with this. And I'd say definitely a D minus. Like 2 chairs, oh shit, we need to start throwing in that. We can really fuck around with the chairs. I will consult the user manual and see if that's possible. All right.
Chair minus chair.
Let's
all right.
get the hell out of here.
I guess that's it.